Milestones of the Century.
The giant weapon of war beneath us is one of the harsh, unvarnished facts of our times. These supercarriers cost Americans millions of dollars in repair and upkeep. That, too, is cold fact. But it is also a fact that not once since its rise in 1918 has the communist tidal wave receded unless it broke itself upon the rock of resistance. This, then, is the film record of one red tide which spent itself on a single rock of democracy. Ever vigilant, supercarriers of the United States Sixth Fleet stood guard over Lebanon in 1958. They had been summoned at the request of Lebanon's government to help stabilize a critical situation which bordered on war. The Soviets, working behind the scenes and using Premier Nasser's United Arab Republic as their tool, were rigging the overthrow of the Lebanese regime. As fighter planes returned from precarious assignments and were taken below to be checked and repaired, other jets prepared to man the sky, keeping an unbroken vigil, for they were the guardians of American fighting men now on Lebanese beaches. This was July 15th, 1958, the day elements of the U.S. Marines landed on Lebanon's threatened soil. Incredibly, not a shot would be fired. These fighter jets would take off, make their flights over the political powder keg below, and return without incident. A touchy situation, held in check by America's mobile rock of defense. Lebanon was not to be another Korea. By this time, the communist war schemes were well known. Just as they had cynically expended the North Koreans, just as they would later utilize Cubans and Congolese, the communists might now be willing to fight to the last Arab, provided, of course, the war was fought here in Lebanon and not in Moscow. But American aircraft now guarded Lebanese skies. Wary, moving with considered caution, the United States had not been bluffing. Guarding the flanks of her summoned army, our fleet formed a bulwark against tyranny both in the air and on the sea. Their burdensome missions completed, jet fighters returned. Within the month, the crisis was over and American forces were able to evacuate. Once again, the Red Storm, whipping the seas of malcontent into a synthetic fury, had dashed itself against the immovable rock, which is democracy, an island of hope, enduring among the milestones of the century.